Hello dear friends, let's take the another design of spring. It is a mechanical device. Spring is a mechanical device. In a spring, we are here to learn the various classification of spring, suitable material used for spring, sketches of helical compression and lip spring, design procedure of helical compression and tension spring, and understand the construction and working of various application of lip spring. Why we use spring? Spring is an elastic body which is used to deflect or distort under the application of load, and when the load is released, the energy is released, and when the energy is released, we found the work done. What is spring? Definition of spring: it is an elastic member which is used to offer a resisting force to an externally applied load, causing the causing a change in its shape and size, and when it regains its original shape and size when externally applied load is removed. There are function of spring, four to six function of spring. Why you use the spring? स्प्रिंग इज यूज फॉर कुशनिंग. कुशनिंग यानी अगर आपको कंफर्ट करना है आप साइकिल में अगर आप देखना एक स्प्रिंग लगी रहती है. स्प्रिंग बहुत जगह लगी रहती है, पर साइकिल की स्प्रिंग में अगर सीट बेल्ट में देखें, सीट की जगह देखें, अगर बिना कुशनिंग के बिना स्प्रिंग के अगर आपने साइकिल चलाई तो उसका इफेक्ट देखो, और बिना और अच्छे स्प्रिंग्स के साथ में सीट पे अगर आप बैठे हो तो उसका इफेक्ट अलग रहता है. इट इज यूज्ड टू एब्जॉर्ब, कंट्रोल एंड एनर्जी ड्यू टू शॉक ऑफ absorber, shock and vibration. This application of spring is used in car spring, shock absorber, vibration damper and buffer spring of railway. Another application is to apply the force. Spring is used to apply the forces. It is used in brake of an automobile, clutches of an automobile, spring-loaded valve. It is used to operate the valve of an IC engine, steam engine and the reciprocating steam compressor. It is used to measure the forces of spring balance, rope brake dynamometer, and it is used to measure the engine power. It is used to store the energy. Watches and toys are the example of this. Then it is used to control maintaining the contact between the two elements. For maintaining the contact between the two elements, the cams and follower are used. Then is the vibration characteristic member. For vibration, to change the vibration characteristic, it is used for flexible mounting of a motor. Then it is used for clamping purpose in a jigs and fixture. The classification of spring. Let's take the classification of spring. Spring are classified as a helical spring, spiral spring, leaf spring and bevel spring and volute spring. Helical spring are helical compression and helical tension. Leaf spring are elliptical, semi-elliptical and cantilever. Helical spring are used. What is helical spring? Helical spring is made up of wire wound in the form of helix. Cross section of the spring may be circular, square and rectangular depending upon the type of loading and deflection of the liquid wire. The load applied on the spring may be tensile and compressive. If the compressive load is applied on the spring, then it is a helical compression spring, and if the tensile load applied on the spring, then it is a helical tension spring. The application of helical compression spring are clutches, brake, wall mounting of an IC engine and telescopic shock absorber. Helical tension spring, if the load is tensile, then the spring is called helical tension spring. This spring is used in spring-loaded safety valve and the spring balance. Another type of the spring is the closed coil helical spring and the open coil helical spring. If the closed coil helical spring, if the angle between the two wire is less than 10 degree, then it is called as the closed coil helical spring, and if the angle is more than 10 degree, then it is called as the open coil helical spring. These are Conical and volute spring. Conical and volute spring, as per the shape, you can understand this. Then is the torsional spring. Torsional spring are classified as spiral torsional spring. Spiral torsion spring is used in mechanical watches and clock. Helical torsion spring are used in door hinges and automobile starter and lever. Then is the leaf spring. Leaf spring is always asked in exam, and the diagram of this leaf spring is always asked in exam. Describe the helical spring with the neat sketches. This is the diagram of helical spring. This is the main leaf, and the these are the graduated leaves. These main leaf and graduated leaves are bounded by the U-bolt, and this is all the specification you have to write on the at the time of exam. This leaf spring you have already seen in a trucks and the in a trucks where it is used in automobile suspension system and the shock absorber in a railway. Then is the bevel spring. Bevel spring is used where the high capacity compression spring is used in a less space. Then the advantage of helical spring. Advantage of helical spring is easy to manufacture, available in a wide range, constant springlet, highly reliable, and a load and can be used for more accurate system. Advantage of helical spring and the over the helical tension spring. Helical tension spring, more stress concentration occur at the end of coil due to the presence of hook. This leads to the uneven and non-uniform stress distribution. Helical tension spring are likely to stress beyond the elastic limit. Under such a condition, spring will not be restored to original shape and size. It is a complex manufacturing. Then advantage of torsional and spiral spring. They have a highly able to store more amount of strain energy. They can be used in a transmission of small torque and a compact and occupy less space. Then is the application of spring. Application helical spring is used in engine work mechanism. Torsional spring is used in clock and watches. Leaf spring for automobile. Bevel spring for use in high spring rate. Conical and volute spring are used in against west and the high load. These are the difference between the um, uh, closed coil and open coil of helical spring. Let's take the design of helical spring. There are some terminologies such as spring index, spring thickness, free length, solid length, pitch. These are the terms which are used in for the design of spring. Let's take the first design, first terminology is the solid length. What is solid length? If the spring is compressed with a maximum capacity load, then the spring is compressed and all the coil of the spring is compressed like this, means no space in between the wires, then it is called as the compressed spring. The compressed spring, we can calculate the solid length of the spring. Solid length of the spring is n dash plus d into d. N dash means the number of turns in the wire and d is the diameter of the spring wire. Then is the pre-length of the spring. Pre-length of the spring is the if the load is released from the spring, then the spring will be deflect, and if the deflection is fully full with a full length, then it is called as the pre-length of the spring. Pre-length of the spring consists of the solid length. This is the solid length plus maximum deflection. This is maximum deflection, deflection, and the clearance between the adjacent coil, and this is the 0.15 is the deflection. It is here. Then is the spring index. Spring index is the ratio of diameter of coil. This is the diameter of coil. D is the diameter of wire. D is the diameter. See here. This is the diameter of wire. This is called wire, and this is pull is called as the coil. Then is the spring stiffness. Stiffness is calculated by a N dash. What is N dash? N dash is the number of turns in the coil. Active coil plus 2. 2 is one is for upper side and one is for lower side. The two spring coil wire are used for grounding. Then is the spring stiffness. Spring stiffness is defined as the load upon deflection. Then is the pitch. Pitch is the distance between the two spring wire, and it is calculated by the formula pre length upon n dash minus 1. Then is spring. Then is the material used for spring. It is a plain carbon steel, medium carbon steel, corrosion resistant steel, non-ferrous materials such as phosphor, bronze, brass, nickel, alloy, beryllium, and copper. Some of the another springs are patent and cold drawn wire spring, oil hardened spring. Oil hardened spring is made up of chromium, vanadium spring, silicon, and manganese. What are the desirable properties of spring? Spring are highly resilient, high shock absorbing capacity, high ductility, high static strain, high fatigue strain. फटीग यानी रिपीटेटिव स्ट्रेसेस अगर मेरे स्प्रिंग में डेवलप होते तो हाई स्प्रिंग रेट एंड देन दिस इज नॉन corrosive. Correct? This is all about the spring, and this is the manufacturing of the spring. Manufacturing of the spring में हमें देखना है D is the diameter of the spring wire. D is the diameter. If both the end is free, then it is called as the plain end. If both the end is packed, then it is called plain end and grounded end. If the if the one wire is square, then it is called as square end, and if they are grounded, then it is called as square and grounded. This is all about the spring. Let's take the stresses induced in a helical spring. Next is in the next video we will take the design of helical spring. Thank you, friends.